Unemployment dropped 0.3% in the second quarter of the year to 32.6%, with 154,000 more jobs added over the period. The number of unemployed people decreased by 11,000 to 7.9 million, and discouraged work seekers decreased by 94,000. Women and youth remain the most vulnerable in the labour market. Business reporter Ntokozo Khumalo covered the announcement, and she's standing by to tell us more as you are with the Statistician-General Ntokozo. But women and children, they're stubbornly still not moving. Why?
Well, it's really the bottlenecks that are still in the economy, with still some of those logistical and load shedding issues really weighing on industries being able to create jobs, and young people, of course, with that unemployment we're seeing reaching close to that mark of half, and black women remaining vulnerable, particularly in rural areas. But to help us wrap our minds around those numbers, I am now joined by the Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke. Thank you so much for talking to us once again. A surprise improvement in unemployment. Talk us through what moved those numbers in the second quarter of this year.
You know that I'm never surprised by any numbers, but what happens is that we have been seeing for the 7th consecutive quarter that we are recovering in terms of the number of the people that are employed. So it shows that we are actually waving and shaking pre-COVID times far behind us and actually moving to the levels where we were. We will remember that pre-COVID, that is first quarter 2020, we were sitting at 16.4 million people employed. And then we lost in the second quarter 2020 about 2.1 million people in the employment area, where we fell to about 14.1 million people employed. So as of now, with the 7th consecutive quarter of employment gains, we are sitting at 16.3%, which is about 100,000 jobs short of the 16.4 million jobs where we were pre-COVID.
And since we are still in Women's Month, you did pay a special attention to women in the labour markets, and it shows that across all demographics, women remain the most vulnerable. What does the stats show are some of the issues that keep women so vulnerable in the labour markets and across all races, but particularly black women?
Firstly, there are a lot of structural issues in our society that keep women from competing sufficiently or compared to their male counterparts. Let me give an example. It's not easy for women to move out of rural areas to cities where they don't know anybody, whereas men can readily move and find themselves comfortable even in informal settlements. You sometimes find people arriving in cities in informal settlements, in the mining towns, in informal settlements, some of them staying next to your main highways and the like. Women don't enjoy that opportunity. There is an issue of education as well. The girl child is actually denied opportunities for schooling, and as they grow older, these numbers show that women are actually not having equal opportunities to go to school. And it starts when they are young. When there's an uncle sick or an aunt sick at home, the girl child is taken away to go and look after the uncle or the aunt. And some of the girl children are looking after the children of their own. But coming back specifically to women, out of the 16.3 million people that are employed in South Africa, only 7.2 million are women, compared to their male counterparts that are about 9.2 million. So if you look at that, there are about 2 million persons short of their male counterparts in terms of employment. Whereas as soon as you move to the number of those that are unemployed, women actually have a larger share. The number of those that are unemployed, women are about 4 million compared to their male counterparts that are sitting at 3.9 million. You look at your discouraged work seekers, for example. Women are sitting at 1.7 million compared to male counterparts sitting at 1.5 million. So you can see that women remain vulnerable to labor markets. But even worse, when you are a black African woman, their unemployment rate is higher than the national average, far higher than the national average. And when we look at the expanded unemployment rate, women are of all population groups are vulnerable to labor markets.
And when we do come to stats to say for such figures, especially the unemployment figures, we do speak to economists and academics out there on the numbers. And some of the concern is that perhaps the survey is not putting into account the right measures, especially when counting pre-COVID levels, showing that we are 100,000 jobs to reaching that employment level we saw pre-COVID. What does the Stats General say to that on how this, the unemployment numbers are assessed? Because they're saying it's impossible with the economic growth that we're seeing to be seeing the jobs being created that are coming out.
Well, we are open. Our methods are open to public scrutiny. We are an independent organization that has to be challenged at all times. But our numbers can stand the test of time. One of the things we will remember is that there was a lot of speculation in the first quarter of 2023 that our economy was going to go on recession, so that it was going to go on a slump. So the fact that in the second quarter, whereas in the fourth quarter of 2022, we had a negative growth, and in the first quarter of 2023, we recorded a positive growth, it shows that with all challenges that we see in terms of electricity generation and the like, load shedding and the like, our economy is resilient. And of course, one of the things that we have been seeing, if there were challenges in the numbers, we would not have seen the consistency in the seven quarters of employment gains. So we are free to be challenged, but our methods are in the public domain.
Stats, thank you so much for talking to us. Of course, that's the Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke talking us through the numbers for unemployment, the findings for the second quarter of the year that, of course, saw that 0.3% drop to 32.9%. And he's just talking us through the methods that they conduct to really gain this data, and, of course, youth, women remaining the most vulnerable. So urgent interventions that are needed there. And a piece of good news is that we are getting closer to those pre-COVID-19 levels when it comes to the number of employed South Africans, sitting at over 16 million people.
Ntokozo, thank you very much for that update.